Yo, what's going on everyone? Tyler here. I hope that you're all having a wonderful day. In this video, I'm going to tell you the story of my junior year of high school. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to walk you through chronologically my junior year with events as it relates to my attendance and getting straight A's in spite of the attendance. So before I get started though, I just want to be clear, I'm not going to do any cuts or any of that bull. I'm just going to kind of be as straightforward as I can, tell this from the heart, because this is something that I've actually documented myself through journal entries, and I thought it would be something interesting to share for maybe somebody out there, and if not, then just have it as a record for my own personal purposes. Before I get started, I want to give some context. I was actually a high school dropout for 2 years. And going into my junior year, this was, my first time being in a classroom for such a long period of time. I just wanted to get that out of the way so maybe you can, put yourself in my shoes in that position. Certainly, if anyone's interested in why I was a dropout, the factors that led to that, and during my dropout period, I was in and out of suicide hospitals, and it really was a depressing time for me. I'd certainly be willing to make a video on that, but that would be a whole nother video in itself. I just wanted to mention the existence of that 2 year gap for context so that you can follow along here and put yourself in my perspective. So, over the summer prior to junior year, what would be my junior year, 2017 to 2018, I reached out to the school and expressed my interest to come back. And they were excited to have me. I was excited to go back because I love learning. And we scheduled a meeting. And I remember at this meeting, we were discussing course load. And you need to understand, I was always a straight A student, took academics incredibly seriously. And I wanted to take on a challenging course load. I didn't think that me being out of school for a period of time, was really pertinent to what courses we were selecting. But they felt a little bit differently. The person I was meeting with for course enrollment, a counselor, I won't say his name, but he basically said that, look, Tyler, AP classes, honors classes, they're off the table. And of course, this kind of caught me off guard. I thought that they would be supportive of me, recognize, where I was in the past, where I am now. But at the same time, I'm not throwing shade here. I can understand where he was coming from. Maybe he felt that me being out of school for a long time, he didn't think it was appropriate to kind of just put me right back into the swing of things and overwhelm me. But I was very disappointed in this idea that I would be put in all remedial classes, and I wasn't going to accept it. So what I ended up doing was I kind of worked around it, and I reached out to the teachers for the AP classes I was interested in, and I figured out what the summer work for those classes would be. The two classes were AP US History and AP English Composition. I ended up doing the summer work for those classes without knowing if I'd even be allowed to take those classes. And at the beginning of the school year, when the school year finally started, I went to those teachers, asked them for their honest opinion. I gave them my work and said, hey, look, I really want to take these classes. If you think that I'm capable of being in AP classes, please put in a word for me. And they did exactly that. Not even a week later, I was already in these classes, and I was really proud of that moment. So the first hurdle, right, was kind of just getting there, getting into school. But I didn't last too long before the problem started. I had a perfect attendance for the first 8 days. And then on the ninth day, I walked out of school, went home, and I made plans to end my life. All right, so I know things just got real quick. So look at, I was always on an antidepressant medication in my earlier school years in order to help me cope with social anxiety and basically provide me the basic social competence to be successful in a classroom. And I was literally out of school for 2 years, and here I am just being put right back into the routine of things. And it wasn't so much the routine that bothered me, but it was just the social interaction, feeling out of place, not feeling comfortable, not feeling like myself. Like I felt like I was gonna fall out of my desk every single moment. Like my heart was just ba bum ba bum ba bum. I couldn't participate in class or give answers to questions without losing my breath, feeling like I just ran 10 miles for cross country or something. And I recognized that this was a problem. I anticipated this problem actually before returning to school because I knew how I did on the medication versus off it. But prior to the school year starting, I was unable to get access to a prescription for it for whatever reason. And that was very detrimental to the beginning of my high school. I remember leaving the ninth day, and I just felt like everything in my life was kind of for naught. I felt completely worthless. Like I had no place being there. Like I'm this 19-year-old kid who's a high school junior. I'm a complete fuck up at life, and I don't belong here. And a lot of these thoughts that I was experiencing, the negative self talk, were probably the product of me obsessing over making what I today consider the biggest mistake of my life, dropping out of high school. But at the time, I was without any medication, trying to manage all this, and not being able to do so, and not being able to get access to the medication. So I ended up missing a few weeks of school. Remember, I was there the first 8 days, no problems at all. Where are we so far? 7 minutes. Oh, jeez. All right, I gotta speed along here. I was there for the first 8 days. Wasn't feeling myself, so I started skipping school. Was gone for a few weeks, and from the day that I stopped going, I was basically planning to kill myself. The school and others ultimately decided that it was more a cry for help than anything else. I won't say what, but I basically went to a park in the wooded area that was like hidden, and I called an operator and asked them to send an ambulance to pick up my body. I was in the hospital for a few days. They ended up releasing me on the condition that I attend like a partial hospital program. And this was a big turning point in some way because at this partial hospital program, I was actually able to obtain a prescription for the medication that I had previously been very successful on. I was able to get so much group therapy where I was able to look at things from other people's experience and get their wisdom that they've learned from their life stories, and just to know that other people have gone through similar things. It really helped me a lot in giving me the confidence. And being socially isolated for so long, I think the group therapy was probably even more helpful than the medication was. I don't know, but both of them were crucial. So I was in this program taking the medication and participating in group therapy. And by the time I returned to school, I had been on medication for a few weeks, done group therapy. But this is where the new hurdle comes in. The school actually applied point penalties to my classes. So I had -10 on like every single class. And I tried working out this out with them and be like, yo, I was literally like in the hospital, like, not able to come here. Is there anything that can be done about it? They wouldn't do it. I fought against it. I ended up getting a letter in December from a psychiatrist who I had been seeing since I was in like the 5th grade. And this psychiatrist wrote a letter saying to stricken the absences from the record. Tyler will still be expected to complete all assignments and tests on their due dates, just that you need to understand the condition that exists with him and you need to work with him on that. So they were no longer allowed to apply the point penalties to myself. And the funny thing to me is that like the school will always be big on like, oh, we were always so happy to help you, Tyler. But the reality is that nobody from the school was actually interested in helping me until that letter arrived. Like, right, the school year started in August. It wasn't until January, because right, the letter came in December, but it wasn't until January that they were actually willing to, basically give me the accommodations that I needed to kind of help me get through the day. And I just want to be clear and get right out of the way. Like, just because I had this letter that gave me like accommodations, some people think that, it's some kind of like, oh, you get bonus points. Like, no, 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 no. I still took the same quizzes, the same tests that everybody else did on the exact day that they did in the same environment. I would literally, at this point, just come into school, take tests or quizzes, and then I would leave. And while at home, I would self teach myself the material when I wasn't depressed. And when I was mostly just, sleeping or trying to find a way to pass the time, self loathing over the fact that I wasn't in school. A lot of people actually got jealous over my situation. And this is really interesting to me because it's really not any of their business, right? MYOB, mind your own business. Like, it's not your business, like, oh, I have an accommodation that says that, I could take a 10-minute walk at any point in the day, one point during the day, whenever I feel like it's necessary. And people want to take that and, like, be toxic. And people would make comments about my attendance all the time. And it was funny to me because, these people were literally there, like, every single day. I was not. And my grades were better than theirs were. So yeah, they want to hate on me. I welcome their hatred. I just kind of used that as fuel for what I was looking to do. I'll be honest, looking back, having that note though, that basically excused me from point penalties, did make it incredibly difficult to get in the habit of going to school. Knowing that, I'm a reliable person. I'm not going to procrastinate on things. I'm not going to put things off. I'm going to do things when they're due. It allowed me to really use this note in a flexible way that concurred with what I felt at the moment. So, if someone pissed me off at school, whether it be an official or a student, and I didn't feel like going that day, I didn't have to, because I know that bottom line, as long as I go in, take my tests and quizzes, that there's not going to be an issue. I could be absent every day technically, and as long as I did all my assignments, still pass with whatever grades I got on those assessments. I ended up making it to the end of the school year with straight A's in all of my classes. And I'm really happy about the fact that in my two AP classes, AP US History and AP English Composition, that I was actually able to pass these exams with scores of 5. In spite of being absent 75 times and dealing with all the toxic comments of people trying to intrude into my business and trying to, pass judgment on me for whatever issues I was dealing with during that difficult time. I was able to overcome all those obstacles and overall put together a really successful school year that I barely attended, but successful objectively in terms of like assessments and outcomes. The exams that I passed that year, can't even talk. The exams I passed those year resulted in me getting 11 credits for college. So junior year, I was absent 75 times. I got a letter that stricken me from all absences and absolved me from any point penalties from being applied to my grades. I took advantage of this unique advantage and used it to my benefit to make things work for myself while I was still socially adjusting. However, I was still able to get straight A's and, make some friends, maybe like 3. That's a solid amount. You got to keep your circle small. I would say it was a rather successful school year. But senior year, I was absent even more. I was taking 5 AP classes, and I was working full time. So, if that's a story that you'd be interested in hearing, please let me know down in the comments below. I really do appreciate it if you watch this video.